guys, another DVD update on the Criterion Collection. We are up to the box sets. Box sets are one of my favorites for a lot of reasons. I think you get more value for your money on the box set typically. Normally it's multi-films or in this case, one film with special packaging in a lot of cases. You'll see some outdated or out of print, I guess outdated as well, but certainly out of print stuff as well here. I'll try to point out when they're out of print. Let me see if I can stretch back here and grab the first handful here. These in no particular order, just however I put them on the shelf. So let me grab some here, throw them down here. At least get through this much of them, I think. If I do it relatively quickly, I think I can get through all of them now and finish up the Criterion Collection, move on to something else. First up, something that's out of print, although I think they reissued it on Blu-ray. This is the out of print version with the complete novel. Let me adjust this camera just a little bit. I hate that light behind me, but I'll do what I can to minimize that as much as I can. Let's see if I can sort of. All right, that's a little better. This one, Shortcuts, Robert Altman, comes with the novel. I'm sorry, short stories by Raymond Carver here, as well as the 2-disc. This one's out of print. Spine 265. Again, I keep in one of these bags because it's a little oversized. Great movie. One of the things about Robert Altman, you'll see he pieces together a lot of different seemingly unrelated stories, and then they all sort of come together. This one stars Annie McDowell, Bruce Davison, Julianne Moore, Matthew Modine, Jennifer Jason Leigh, Sean Penn, Robert Downey Jr., Madeline Stowe, big fan of Madeline Stowe, Tim Robbins, Lily Tomlin, Tom Waits, Frances McDormand, Peter Gallagher, just a whole list of people, Jack Lemmon, Lyle Lovett, Buck Henry, Huey Lewis of the News. Yeah, a lot of stuff on here. A lot of extras. Great version, director approved, Shortcuts. Out of print. Next up, I got this one cheap. I think for like $10, and I couldn't pass it up. Used, I think on eBay if I remember right. This includes the novel by Niven Bush, and this is from 1950. 109 minutes, black and white, 1:3:3:1 aspect ratio. This is the story called The Furies with Barbara Stanwyck. I always like Barbara Stanwyck, like in The Big Valley. Remember that show? And I've seen her in some other stuff too. I always like her. It's a Western melodrama directed by, actually it stars John Huston in his final film role. Yeah. Who butts heads with his daughter. So it's from the 1870 New Mexico territory. Megalomaniacal widowed ranch owner T.C. Jeffords, that's John Huston in his final role, butts heads with his daughter, played by Stanwyck. A firebrand with serious daddy issues over her dowry, choice of husband, and finally ownership of the land itself. Both sophisticated in its view of frontier settlement and ablaze with searing domestic drama, The Furies is a hidden treasure of American filmmaker, boasting Oscar-nominated cinematography and vivid supporting turns from Judith Anderson, Wendell Corey, and Gilbert Rowland. Directed by Anthony Mann. Yeah, real nice, interesting. This is, so you've got the novel here, and then you've got the actual disc, which I think is very nicely presented here. And then you've got a pretty thick booklet, 30 pages or so, give or take, 35 pages, 36 pages. Real nice. Yeah. They have a picture of John Ford with his daughter. I mean, John Huston with his daughter. I don't see it. Anyway, The Furies. The cinematography in that is gorgeous. And you can kind of tell from even the cover. It's just going to have that, that Montana, New Mexico look. Okay, next up. This is one that it's heavy. This is one that I wanted for a while. This also has these stories with it. This is Eric Romer's 6 Moral Tales. This is damn heavy. You've got 6 different tales on here, and then you've got a booklet called On the 6 Moral Tales, which talks about, each one in turn. They're all good. They're all, well, not real short, but they're not lengthy either. So let me give you the rundown on the titles and the times here. You've got The Bakery Girl. This is a short one, 23 minutes long. That was the shortest of the bunch. Then you've got Suzanne's Career, 55 minutes. My Night at Maud's, 111 minutes. La Collectionneuse, 87 minutes. Claire's Knee, my personal favorite, 106 minutes. And Love in the Afternoon, 98 minutes. So, and you've got some extras on here, some short films. There's 4 short films as well. Charlotte and Her Steak from 1951. Nadja in Paris, 1964. A Modern Coed, 1966. The Curve, 1999. And Veronique and Her Dunce, 1958. Yeah, great stuff. All of them somewhat sexually based, some more than others. Obviously, the one where the affair is. Claire's Knee is kind of a middle-aged man's obsession with a teenage girl. All of them a little bit controversial, I guess. What do they say about this? Multifaceted, deeply personal, dramatic universe of Eric Romer had an effect on cinema unlike any other. One of the founding critics of the history, making Cashiers du Cinema, Bowman began translating his written manifestos to film in the 60s. Standing apart from his new wave contemporaries like Truffaut and Jean-Luc Godard, with his patented brand of gently existential, hyper-articulate character studies set against vivid seasonal landscapes. I'm having trouble reading today. Yeah. It's a succession of jousts between fragile men and the women who tempt them. Very heavy, as I said. But you've got each tale is told here, and then, of course, the movie versions are here. So the tales are interesting. He wrote these 6 tales first, and then those then get translated into the movies. But I have not read any of these. I've watched all the movies. I probably should read the stories. They're not that long. And then each one of these, I'll just show you one of them. Each one of these is in package, like a lot of these type R. Little summary, then very plain looking disc here. This happens to be The Bakery Girl, which was really a good movie. Story of a man who falls for a girl who works in a bakery, and well, he's smitten with her, I should say. She falls for him, and then I'm not going to tell you how it turns out, but not maybe as you'd expect. Okay, next up, very light one compared to that one, but a very good one. This is, I kept the plastic of this as well as I can. It's a film trilogy by Ingmar Bergman. Through a Glass Darkly, we can make that a Winter Light and the Silence. All 3 meditations on God and life and why we exist. And then another one called Ingrid Bergman Makes a Movie, which is the story of which one? Winter Light, which Bergman said was one of his greatest movies. And each one of, like I said, each one of these, I'll just tell you what Winter Light. God, Why Did You Desert Me? With Winter Light, master craftsman Ingmar Bergman explores the search for redemption in a meaningless existence. In the stark depiction of spiritual crisis, small-town pastor, played by Gunnar Bjorstrand, performs his duties mechanically before a dwelling congregation. When he's asked to assist a troubled parishioner played by Max von Sydow with his debilitating fear of nuclear annihilation, Thomas is terrified to find that he can offer nothing but his own uncertainty. Beautifully photographed by Sven Nykvist, Winter Light is an unsettling look at the human craving for personal validation in a world seemingly abandoned by God. Lots of extras on these, commentaries and so on. Really good trilogy by Ingmar Bergman. Some of my favorite Ingmar Bergman movies right here. So, putting these back wrong, but that's all right. I'll worry about it later. Next, I really wanted this set. When I first started buying Criterions, I saw this set. I said, I really want this set. It's since has come out on Blu-ray, but I'm happy with the DVDs. I probably won't upgrade. This cost me enough. I did get it at the Barnes & Noble sale. I particularly ran to Barnes & Noble when the first 50% sale came out after I started collecting Criterions a number of years ago, and picked this one up. John Cassavetes' 5 films. Love John Cassavetes as a director, as an actor too, which was in Rosemary's Baby and others. He acted in order to finance his movies because he didn't want to have to be subject to the film studios' beck and call and rules. And he's made some brilliant movies here. I mean, probably one of my favorites is A Woman Under the Influence, with his wife Jenna Rollins and Peter Falk. But just a wonderful, he had a cast of people that he worked with. Peter Falk, Ben Gazzara, his wife, of course, Gina Rollins. And there's 2 versions of The Killing of a Chinese Bookie on here, which is another great movie. The original 135-minute cut on home video for the first time, as well as a subsequent 108-minute re-edit. Faces is on here. This is just a great, great set. And then also you get A Constant Forge, which is kind of the story of John Cassavetes, including his death and some interviews with a lot of the actors who worked with him. Heavy set. This one looks like that inside. And you do get a booklet with this as well. Pretty good size booklet. So yeah. Real happy with this set. And I'm just going to make sure I put it back in right. Just one sec. All right, back. Sorry, I'll hit a little interruption there. Domestic thing. I'm going to finish this video and help out. My daughter's birthday party is tomorrow, so there's a lot of, and it's going to be here with 10 girls. 10 12-year-old girls, 11 or 12-year-old girls. So it's going to be interesting. Next up, 3 films by Shohei Imamura: Pigs, Pimps, and Prostitutes. Yeah, interesting films. Each one a little bit different. Pigs and Battleships is one of them, called, it's 108 minutes long. They're all in Japanese, 2.35, all 2.35. That's from 1961. Then from 1963, The Insect Woman, which I really like the best. And then finally, 1964, 153 minutes, Intentions of Murder. All of them are restored. All of them have extras on it. I'll give you the overview of each one. Here's The Insect Woman. So these actually have the actual DVDs. They all have their own booklets, as opposed to one booklet on all of them. So they almost stand alone here. Spine 473 is The Insect Woman. Born in a rural farming village in 1918, Tomei survives decades of Japanese social upheavals, as well as abuse and servitude at the hands of various men. Yet Shohei Imamura, ever the cinematic entomologist, refuses to make a victim of her. Instead, observing Tomei, played by the extraordinary Sachiko Hidari, as a fascinating, pragmatic creature, of 20th century Japan, a portrait of opportunism and resilience in 3 generations of women. It's one of his most expansive films, and Tomei his ultimate heroine. So that's The Insect Woman. Yeah. Pigs and Battleships. Post-war Japan. Details with escalating obscurity. There you go. The desperate power struggles between small-time gangsters in a port town. I'm cutting some of the description, but this one, cursed by generations before her, rejected by her common-law husband, she falls prey to a brutal home intruder. But rather than become a victim, she forges a path to her own awakening. This disturbing and pitiless evocation of domestic drudgery and sexual violence is also a fascinating, unsentimental account of one woman's determination. Yeah. He uses flashbacks and dream sequences a lot in his films, and all 3 of these have quite a few references to that in there. I just thought the cover was really cool. Pigs, Pimps, and Prostitutes. Okay, that's that. Shuffle. Move on to the next little bit here. Oh, get in there. Okay. Next up. This one is... not watched all these. Now that I notice that. Another kind of packaging. This is the only. Is this the only one I have like this? Yeah, these are the only ones I have. I'm looking for one other one, but these are the E or the Eclipse versions. These usually have just a sleeve over them, and you have like these thinner DVDs. And this one is called A Warped World of Koriyoshi Kurihara. I wanted this one because, well, listen to over the course of his varied career, he made meticulous noirs, jazzy juvenile delinquency pictures, and even nature films. His freeform approach to movie making was perfectly suited to the radiant spirit of the 60s, when he was one of the biggest hit makers, working at the razzle-dazzle youth-oriented Nikatsu Studios. These 5 films collected here hail from that era of the Japanese New Wave and encompass breathless teen escapades, cruel crime stories, a Yukio Mishima adaptation, and a Hollywood-inspired romantic comedy. So I've heard really good things about this. It's Eclipse Series number 28. And so I picked it up. Love the colors on this thing. Really bright, really jumps off my screen. Next is one of my favorite Criterions in the entire collection. It is on DVD. It came out on Blu-ray, but I haven't been tempted to buy it. I just love this version, and I'm used to watching the version. So, and I like the size of this one for some reason. I don't know. I don't want a small. I want this one. Anyway, it's Spine 374, filmed by Vittorio De Sica. If you've watched my channel for any length of time, you know it's one of my favorite movies of all time, not to mention one of my favorite Criterion releases of all time, and that is Bicycle Thieves. Such a simple story, and yet so thought-provoking, so profound, and ultimately sad, somewhat tragic, and yet somewhat hopeful as well. 89 minutes, 1948. It's in Italian, of course, 1.33 to 1 aspect ratio. Basically the story of a poverty in post-war Italy. Hard to find a job. This guy gets a job hanging posters throughout Italy, or throughout Rome, and then his bicycle gets stolen. You need a bicycle. You need to be able to get from point A to point B in the city. And bicycles are in short supply, but his family hawks just about everything they've got to be able to get his bicycle out of hock, and hence give them somewhat of a future. But when that bicycle is stolen, the rest of the movie is his quest with his son to try to get that bicycle back. What a great movie. If you've never seen Bicycle Thieves, go out to Hulu and watch it. I think it's on Hulu. I think it's on Blu-ray, or maybe not on Criterion as well. Or get the Criterion DVD or Blu-ray. You can't go wrong with Bicycle Thieves. Probably my highest recommendation, just about of any film. I think you can watch this and get something out of it, no matter who you are. All right. Next movie that Gray 1951 doesn't like, but I do. Richard Linklater's Dazed and Confused. Story of graduation in the 1970s, mid-70s somewhere. Very true to the era. Got some people that would be stars in this later on, but in this one they're really not. They're just in it. And yeah, I like it. Interesting packaging. We've got the little cutouts here and the little pictures in there. You can change these. There's a poster in it as well. Yeah, I like Dazed and Confused. Not my favorite movie, but I like it. Next is a movie I traded a movie with Joel of the Cinematologists. If you don't know those guys, you got to check them out. This is really good. I'm not sure why he traded me this, quite frankly, but from 1953 to 1958, maybe he just didn't like it. 485 minutes. This is the golden age of television. You know, back when they used to put on like plays on television, full-length plays, or TV dramas live. A lot of these were live, and you've got things like Marty, No Time for Sergeants. These are all kinescopes. Kinescopes being the way they used to film things before the videotape, but they don't look bad. Interviews with the cast, Andy Griffith's in here, and Kim Hunter, Piper Laurie, Cliff Robertson, Mickey Rooney, Rod Steiger. Just a wide variety. Authors like Rod Serling wrote for these early television shows. You got Requiem for a Heavyweight, The Comedian, Days of Wine and Roses, Bang the Drum Slowly. A lot of great stuff on this. Yeah, the inside is one of these deals. got 3 discs and a pretty thick book, maybe about a 70-page book. Really like it though. I've not watched all of them, but I have watched enough to know the quality's decent. I mean, it's watchable. It's from the 50s, for God's sakes. Don't expect pristine quality. Next, a pair of movies. Get this off of eBay for like $10 for the 2 movies, which I thought was a pretty good deal. Very interesting documentaries from the Males brothers. I never can say that right. This is Grey Gardens and the Beals of Grey Gardens. This woman, Edie Beale, is a direct relative to Jacqueline Kennedy, or the Bouvier Kennedys, and was gorgeous. You can't tell from looking at this picture, but at one point was gorgeous. In fact, there was rumors she dated Howard Hughes. There's a picture of her when she was younger. She was a pretty woman. And her mother is a whack job. They live together in this kind of old, broken down, they call it a mansion, but I don't really know if it was ever a mansion. But it's an old, broken down, big house with like rats running around and holes in the walls. And they live like that. The mother mainly in bed. Her hair fell out, I guess, so she wears scarves a lot on her head. And weird. You got to watch it. You got to watch this. It's fascinating and disturbing at the same time. But Grey Gardens and the Beals of Grey Gardens. If you can only get one, get Grey Gardens. The Beals of Grey Gardens was kind of a follow-up some years later. Apparently Jackie Onassis had come in and cleaned up the house. Paid to have the house... She didn't come in and clean up the house. She paid to have the house cleaned up. And, yeah. Okay. Next up, the movie I traded to Joel. I had 2 of them. Don't ask me why, long story, but I had 2 copies, and so I traded my copy to him for that. And I think he sent me something else too, if I'm not mistaken. Because this is a pretty expensive movie by Masaki Kobayashi. And I had read that this was the greatest movie ever made. Didn't know anything about it. Didn't know what it was about, but I was intrigued by the title alone. And the fact that it's 574 minutes long. Yeah, almost 10 hours in length. It's in Japanese with English subtitles. It's an exceptionally good movie. With it's amazing. It was made as 3 films, but here it's presented as 1. I think it was released in the theaters as 3, but it's called The Human Condition. Story of a man who is opposed to war and violence, who ends up in the war, and then in a labor camp. Yeah. Just time and time he finds his morals an impediment rather than an advantage. A raw indictment of its nation's wartime mentality, as well as a personal existential tragedy. It's a riveting, gorgeously filmed epic of a novelistic cinema at its best. Yeah, if ever there was an epic, it's The Human Condition. Great, great movie. Highly recommend it. I know it's 10 hours of your life, but if you get a chance to watch the 3 pieces of this movie, I would highly recommend it. Great film. Now, let me do it this way. Easier to take one out, put one in. They've re-released this movie on DVD and Blu-ray, but I've always loved the packaging on this. It really kind of jumped out at me for some reason when I first saw it, and so I've never been really want to get rid of it, and I'm not going to. Spine number 218. It is the Jean Renoir's The Rules of the Game. If you go out and Google this, if you're not familiar with the what it looks like now, it's very cartoonish on the cover. I'm sure they've redone it and made it look better and things, but this has got a blue plastic slip cover over it, so it gives this blue tint to everything, which I just find really interesting looking. Tons of extras. It's a 2-disc. There's extras on both these, so there's a lot of extras. I don't know what they did more. But I'm not getting rid of this. This is out of print now, and I like this version better for what it is. This is poking fun at the rich, which I always think is a good thing to do. French aristocracy, rich French people. Okay. Next, an out of print one, another one of these bags that I use to good purpose to protect the case. It's out of print. It's a film by Nicholas Roeg. And I'm wondering out loud here if this is going to be worth more money now than it was. It was worth a pretty good buck. I should look it up and see what it's worth. 2-disc version, also has the book with it. And this is David Bowie in The Man Who Fell to Earth. Great performance by David Bowie playing the man who fell to Earth. Man from another planet who is struggling with that. And, yeah. It says it's an adventurous examination of alienation in contemporary life. Very good. Rock legend David Bowie, in his acting debut, completely embodies the title role. Yeah. This was the second movie I have with David Bowie in it. The other one is Merry Christmas, Mr. Lawrence. I think I showed that earlier. I did show that earlier. But this is his film debut. Here you go, Spine 304. It's 139 minutes long. A lot of extras on this as well. Good stuff. Next is an odd thing. Odd because it faintly smells. When I first got this thing, it smelled of cigarette smoke strongly. It's very vague now, but you can still, if you put your nose right on it, you can smell it. When I first got it, man, I took it out of the box, and it just reeked. I bought it for like $15, and I complained, and the guy ended up giving it to me for $5 because of the cigarette smell. So I can't complain, other than it smells a little bit like. I left it out. I left it on the windowsill with the window open in the summer. I put it out in the sun for a couple hours. I put, I think there's still maybe one in here. I put like dryer sheets in it. It only masked it. So if anybody has a way to get rid of cigarette smell on something like cardboard, I'd appreciate it. We're talking about Mr. Arkadin or Mr. Arkadin or Arkadin. I've heard it said a lot of different ways. This is a complete. It's also known as Confidential Report, written and directed by Orson Welles and starring Orson Welles. It's a mishmash of a movie. There's also a book here in which he, I believe he, let's see here. Is this the one where he denies writing it? No. No. Yeah, it smells like cigarette smoke, unfortunately. So you got a book, Mr. Arkadin by Orson Welles, and you've got this, and you've got, I think it's 4 versions of this movie, and then a really thick booklet, about a 100-page booklet. Let's see, let me just start. There's three discs, 3 different versions. You've got the Corinth version, which is 99 minutes, the confidential version, which is something like 99 minutes. And you've got 105 versions, the comprehensive version. It is an okay film. I wouldn't say it's a masterpiece, but it's no Citizen Kane. But it was interesting. It's the story of an elusive billionaire who hires an American smuggler to investigate his past, leading to a dizzying descent into a Cold War European landscape. The film's history is also marked by this vertigo. There are at least 8 of these versions, 3 radio plays, a novel, several long-lost cuts, and the controversial European release known as Confidential Report. The Criterion Group has gathered all these elements to create this landmark box set, which also includes outtakes, behind-the-scenes footage, and a rare comprehensive version of the film, at last unraveling one of cinema's great mysteries. It's audio commentary by Orson Welles scholars Jonathan Rosenbaum and James Nairmore. And an interview with the Welles biographer. 3 half-hour episodes of the radio program, The Lives of Harry Lime. Yeah. Great package to show the way this film was butchered and try to restore it to the best possible place it can be, I guess. Just a few more and then I'm done. So I'm going to keep it in a semi-reasonable time, I guess. I can't really see the time. Yeah, it'll be 35 minutes or so. Gus Van Sant made this movie with the late River Phoenix in it, and yeah, it also has Keanu Reeves in it. The film with the supplements and then a pretty thick booklet with it. Again, about a 100-page booklet. It's called My Own Private Idaho. these two guys go. It's like one of these road movies. Sensitive narcoleptic who dreams of the mother who abandoned him, and a wayward son of a mayor of Portland, who's the objects of Mike's desires. Yeah, they navigate a volatile world of junkies, thieves, and Johns. Mike takes Scott on a quest from the grungy streets to the open highways of the Pacific Northwest in search of the elusive place called home. Yeah. No, Private Idaho. I enjoyed that movie quite a bit. And almost last, not quite last. Getting close to last is Pier Paolo Pasolini's Salo. I have not watched this, or the 120 Days of Sodom. I need to watch it. It's one that I've resisted. I picked it up for like $10, and so I, again from FYE, or it was their sister store before it went out of business, whose name escapes me right now. It's Spine 17, so it was early on. Yeah, it's been called nauseating, shocking, depraved, pornographic. It's also a masterpiece. The controversial poet, novelist, and filmmaker's transposition of the Marquis de Sade's 18th century opus of torture and degradation to 1944 fascist Italy remains one of the most passionately debated films of all time. A thought-provoking inquiry into the political, social, and sexual dynamics that define the world we live in. There's a scene where the people are forced to eat something that nobody should ever eat. And that thought alone has turned my stomach and made it difficult to watch. But I probably should watch it at some point because it is regarded as a masterpiece. I just haven't been able to do it yet. So it sits in the plastic, and one of these days I'll pop it open and watch it. Salo, or 120 Days of Sodom. And last of the sets that are here separately, it's a single movie by Carl Theodor Dreyer, but it's a thick one, which is why it's separate here. Spine 437 with the big thick book. It's Vampire or Vampire, however you want to say it. Eerie. Yeah, it's in German, but there's not a lot of talk in this. It's a kind of a dreamlike terror mood. A lot of shadows, as you can see here, and kind of creepy sounds, and yeah, I liked it. This is a high definition digital transfer, audio commentary featuring film scholar Tony Raines, doing appropriate English subtitles. The documentary on Carl Theodor Dreyer, and a visual essay. Good movie to watch during. I might pull this one out and watch it during Halloween, or during October. I mean, guys, that is it. That is my entire. Hold on. I neglected one. Let me get this. I don't think I've showed this before, so I'll be short now. I don't think I did. Well, no, I think I might have shown some box sets before, but this is my entire collection, so it seemed like I forgot it the last time too. In any event, it's Brazil. The first Criterion movie I was ever made aware of. I saw it in a White Modell department store. This is going back years ago. The White Modell hasn't existed in years. Spine 51. And I just saw the cover and was fascinated by it. I never saw anything that was, a movie that had this many discs with it. It seemed to be kind of an anomaly. Spine 51, 51.1, 51.2, 51.3. It's come out on newer versions and on Blu-ray, but I'm really happy with this box that it comes in. It's kind of cool. Similar to the rules of the game. I just like the packaging. So, Brazil, a futuristic story of what? The future. It's a bizarre story. How do you even describe Brazil? If you've seen it, I guess you know what I'm talking about. It's a futuristic story of a man who works in a kind of a futuristic type filing job, I guess. Is that safe to say? I'm not even sure if that's safe to say. Let me see if it has any kind of a description. Pitting the imagination of the common man against the oppressive stormtroopers of the Ministry of Information, this bitter parable for the information age is more relevant than ever. Gathering footage from both the European and American versions. Yeah, it's pretty much what it is, I guess. Like it said. Anyway, that's Brazil, and really happy with it. You can put different versions here in the cover, but this is the one I always stick with. All right, that's it. That is my Criterion Collection, and I will move on to something else once I get it organized. Could be television, could be musicals, could be science fiction, could be horror, which is most likely, since it'll be October. But we'll move on to something, and I will show that whenever I can organize it enough where I think I'm ready to go. All right, guys, take care.